Assalamu alaikum. I am MD Faisal Hossain. My ID number is 222156367. My teammates are Jamil Islam Riyad, Abdullah bin Farooq, Sudipta Kumar Mitro, and Imran Munshi. Today's our presentation topic is NAT. Now I will like to discuss about NAT. NAT is a process in networking that allows many devices in a private network to share one public IP address for communication with the internet. It has two main purposes, like to save IPv4 addresses, which are limited in number. Another one is add a layer 2 of security by hiding private IP address from outside network. NAT helps network work efficiently and securely, making it a key part of modern networking. Next slide. This slide is how NAT works. NAT works by changing the IP addresses in data packets as they move between a private network and the internet. When a device sends data, the router replaces its private IP with a public IP. For incoming data, the router changes the public IP back to private IP and sends it to the correct device. This process uses a translation table to keep track of the connection and update the packet headers with the new IP information. NAT allows private networks to communicate with the internet easily and efficiently. That's all about my part. My next teammate Jamil Islam Riyad continue. Next slide. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. My name is Md.Zamirul Islam Riyad and my student ID is 222156224. Today I will talk about types of NAT. It is a key method to manage IP address in networks. So first of all, NAT. Static NAT creates a fixed one-to-one mapping between a private IP and a public IP. This is useful to servers that need to that need a permanent public IP, like web servers or email servers. And the second type is dynamic NAT. Dynamic NAT Dynamic NAT maps private IPs to public IPs from a pool. The mapping is temporary and changes over time. It's ideal for networks with limited public IP addresses. And the port address translation PAT is also known as NAT overloading. Map multiples It maps multiple private IPs to a single public IP using unique port numbers. It's widely used for large networks because it serves public IPs while allowing many devices to connect the internet. So, in to the summaries, static net is fixed and one-to-one mapping, and dynamic net is temporary and automatic mapping, and PAT is many-to-one mapping using ports. Thank you everyone for hearing my presentation. Our next teammate Abdullah bin Farooq will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Abdullah bin Farooq with the bearing ID 221155937. Now I'll talk about the advantages of NET. There are several advantages of NET. Now, main is security benefits. NET has enhanced security as it allows multiple devices on a private network to share a single IP. This significantly reduces the demand for public IP addresses, and by hiding the internal IP addresses, it makes difficult to external attackers to identify the devices. This provides a layer of protection against potential threats. IP conservations. This significantly reduces the demand for public IP addresses, which are limited resources. Flexibility enables private network to function without being directly routable. That means NAT can be easily configured to accommodate changes in networks topology, or the number of devices. It allows for flexible network designs and can scale to support growing network needs. Thank you. That's all on my part. My next teammate will present the next slide.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Shubhti Kumar Mitra. My student ID is table to 156104. Now we will talk about the disadvantages of NAT. NAT has some disadvantages that can affect how network works. It breaks direct communication between devices by changing IP address, which can cause problems for applications like video calls, online games, or file sharing. NAT can also slow down the network because it needs extra processing to rewrite packets. Some protocols like IPsec or FTP may not work properly with NAT. Useless extra settings are applied. Setting up NAT can be tricky, especially for apps that need incoming connections. It also makes troubleshooting harder since it hides the original IP address. Additionally, NAT has limits on the number of connections it can handle because it uses fixed number of ports. Although it provides some privacy by hiding internal IPs, it isn't a strong security solution and could cause issues if it not configured correctly. That's all my part. Next year will continue my next teammate. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Imran Munshi, ID number 222156376. Today I will talk about real world application and conclusion. I will now come to the point that is the real world application. NAT is used many real world scenario. First of all, I'll talk about the corporate netting. NAT allow large organization to manage thousands of private devices with only a few public apps. It makes their network secure and easier. Now we'll come to the talk about the home networking. NAT helps the families connected to the multiple devices like phone, laptop, and smart TV to the internet using the just one public IP. And now I'll talk about data center and the internal service provider. In data center, that NAT is we can usually access the data center by in net traffic. And net give us type of IP. One is public and another was private. For that's why the data center will be more secure and essential. Now we'll come to the conclusion. To conclude, net essential for today's network. It helps the convert IPv4 addressing. Why we use net? Because we know that IPv4 has only 4 billion IP address, but today in today's this rapid increasing. Increasing devices. That's why we need the billions of IP. But we when we use net, we can access manage our own IPv4. In future, when we need the IPv6, net will be essential for translating IPv4 to IPv6. That's all about my. Thank you to hearing our presentation. Assalamu alaikum.